Today's question we're looking at is how to get answers to prayers. If there is one thing you want to get answers to, it's your prayers. How is it we can do some amazing and sometimes unexplainable things, like heal our own bodies by the power of our thoughts? Mother's intuition, the law of attraction. Can we really tap into our subconscious mind? Can we really create our own realities? It begs the question, are we novice gods? Hey, thank you so much for joining me on this documentary series. Today we're talking about how to get answers to prayers. Now, I gotta tell you, this whole documentary series has been, basically it's been my video journal. It's been sharing the things that I have found that have transformed me or are transforming me. I gotta tell you, I am very much a work in progress. I certainly do not have it all figured out, and I hope I don't come across that way. I hope that you understand I'm just like you. I'm on the same path. We're here together, and today we're going to talk about how to get answers to prayers. Now, in talking about this subject, I got to tell you, I am not the most qualified person to talk about this. I have met some amazing people. You can catch them on this show and others that I will be interviewing who are awesome at getting answers to prayers. And they've had these amazing experiences where their lives have truly transformed and they were able to get the specific direction that they needed at the time they needed to get to where they needed to be. Now, that being said, this is my video journal and I've learned a whole lot of stuff. And so what I'm going to share with you is kind of along my journey, some of the things that I have found and you can translate and put into your life and figure out how you can get answers to prayers, get more frequent answers to prayers. Okay, so with my journey, I used to be super grateful when I would get an answer or two to prayer a year. You know, I'd get an answer and it filled me up and I was like, this is the direction I need to go. And for 6 or 8 months, I'm charging in that direction, just feeling fantastic, except that, you know, as you start getting into the 6th, 7th, 8th month period, you're not really sure, am I still going the right way? And you start to have all these doubts and concerns. And I had no idea that you can actually get answers to prayer every single day. Every single day. That's the thing that has come to me that has changed my life in this last little bit, is finding out that answers to prayers don't have to be this, you know, few and far between kind of thing. You can get answers to prayers all the time. And you kind of have to, anyway, there's 3 key elements, 3 key factors to helping you get an answer to prayer every single day, and I'm going to share that with you. First of all, I just want to share some experiences that other people that I know have had with their answers to prayers. These are people who have guided me. I have a friend who was way in debt with his business. He was talking to other people, sharing where he was at, and they looked at his finances and they said, you better declare bankruptcy. I don't see another way for you. And he was super discouraged about that because he didn't feel like that was the right thing to do. And he decided he was going to pray about it. He was going to pray about it and he was going to fast about it. And fasting is where you go without food or drink for 24 hours and instead you pray and you give a generous donation to other people of the money that you would have spent on your food. Anyway, he did this and he got amazing answers. Little pivots that changed the direction of his business, that opened up new doors and new opportunities, and now he's doing absolutely fantastic. I was just talking to a friend of mine who shared these amazing experiences with me about the answers she has just received in her life and how now her and her husband get to work together on this new business that just came because she asked for certain specific things and she trusted. She also fasted and she got great answers. So anyway, I just want to share some stories like that. I know I'm kind of being a little bit ambiguous because I didn't really ask permission from these people to share their stories, but I hopefully will have some of them on and they can share the stories specifically with you. One woman that I'm going to have on soon, if I don't, anyway, you can Google and see if by the time you're watching this show that she's actually on. Her name is Becky Edwards, and she talks about how to get daily answers to prayer and following a system. So anyway, hopefully that will help. So I'm going to share with you three key factors for you getting regular, consistent answers to prayers. Now, the first element, the first key skill, whatever you call it, is to be very specific on your questions. The better your questions, the better the results are going to be. Now, I used to ask really horrible questions. Like, I would always ask, why is this happening to me? Or I would be very specific about, I want this to happen. And it may not have been what God wanted to have happened. I had my life charted that I wanted to go a certain way, and I don't think it was in the plan. But as I started to change some of my questions, change them to what can I learn from this experience? How would you have me serve today? Where would you have me go to do this? As I started to ask really specific questions, and what it comes down to is I read this wonderful book. It is by, I'm blanking on her name for just a second, Watson Nelson. Wendy Watson Nelson, sorry about that. And she wrote a book called Change Your Questions, Change Your Life. And in there she gives a wonderful 30-day challenge that I took, and holy cow, it changed my life, where she said, each day, write down the single most important question you most need God to answer today. And I had never considered that I could ask such a specific question, and by narrowing it down to just one question rather than having, mumbling through my prayers and asking for this and please bless them and this, just kind of being all over the board, I was able to be very specific in what is the single most important question you most need answered today. As I ask that to you, what is going through your mind? Is there something in your mind that you're like, oh, if only I had some clarity on this. If only I had a little direction in my life here, I could take those next few steps. Well, I want you to have the confidence that you can ask God, and you do it by getting really specific, really clear. I like to write it down. By the way, if you want this, I do have a purpose pad. You'll find out about it at the end of this video. But in it outlines this for you. You absolutely don't have to have it. You could just use a notebook or 3x5 cards. But write down what is the single most important question I most need God to answer today, and then leave space for His answer and expect His answer. And that's the point number 2, is to expect an answer. To actually have enough faith to say, I'm going to ask a specific question. God loves me. He cares about me. He is actually there, and He's going to answer me. I know sometimes it takes a while to build up that faith. You can check out another episode where I talk about reconnecting with God or rebuilding our relationship with God and kind of the process for doing that. But start with just enough faith that you expect an answer. Expect an answer enough to leave space in your journal or whatever you're using to write down and keep track of these questions that you're asking. And as you get an answer, I want you to then do something about it. If it's a prompting to do something, absolutely do that. Now, the third kind of key thing, and this is something that I have just learned about in the last 2 weeks, and I've started implementing it, and it's absolutely amazing. And that is, keep a prompting journal. And what this is, for me, I've got this little guy, and there's no way I'm going to show you what's in it. But it's just this little journal that I'm able to keep with me all the time. And whenever I get a little prompting, whenever I get just this little thought, and trust me, they have started out as little tiny thoughts where I'm thinking, was that even me? Was that even something? And I wasn't sure, but I would write it down, and then I would do it. And these are promptings that would tell me to do a specific thing. And so what I do in there is I write P and I circle it, and I write what the prompting is, such as send a letter to so-and-so, or reach out to somebody, or call my mom, or some of the things that are in my stuff I'm not going to share. But so I write down the prompting, and then right after that I put an A, and that means action. And I got to tell you, be really consistent on doing this. And it's amazing because what happens is you are savoring the words of God. You are savoring His promptings. You are really relishing the inspiration, the revelation that He is giving to you. And when you do that, you're going to be able to get more and more answers to prayers. Now, I will tell you, I'll tell you one thing that I didn't do. So this last week, I stumbled over something on the stairs, and the kids had left something there, and I started to get a little about it, and I thought I'm gonna be critical and tell them about this, that we don't leave anything on the stairs. And then immediately I had this thought: don't criticize now. Well, first of all, I didn't write it down. Second of all, I didn't follow on that action. I was critical, and it caused a spirit of contention in my home, and it ruined our entire morning. And I thought, why didn't I listen to that prompting? Why didn't I put that into action? So learn from my bad example. But when you put things in there, when you start keeping track of the answers that you're getting, when you are asking really specific questions, when you're reaching out in prayer, and when you're expecting communication to come from Him, expecting enough to carry this with you all the time and to write these things down, when you start to do that, you're going to find you get answers all the time. You're going to find that you start to get direction in your life. And that confusion that you've had, what do I do? What would you have me do? What is my life about? What is my purpose? What is my mission? What is my calling? Those questions will start to melt away as you start to get more and more clarity, because you have this regular communication with God. I just want to share with you that I know this works. It's been an amazing journey. Hopefully you've stuck with me, or you will stick with me through the rest of these documentary shows, and you check out some of the other things that I've learned. This is something that has come to me just in the last few weeks that has intensified the amount of inspiration, the number of revelation, what would you call it? The direction, the answers to prayers that I'm getting. And I wanted to share that with you so that wherever you're at, whatever you're doing, I want you to know you can get those answers. And just by following these 3 simple steps, you'll be able to get a lot more. What can you add? Now, are you ready to join the conversation? Are you willing to add your voice, your thoughts, your ideas, your impressions? If so, add them in the comment section below. We need your voice. Now, if you have been inspired to take action, don't let an impression slip by. Train yourself to listen to and follow your inner voice. Of course, the best place to take action is at scottwilhite.com, because if you join me for a free web class, you will receive a copy of my Purpose Planner, the tool you've been missing that will help you uncover your purpose. What if you are a God in the making? That would mean there's purpose to your life, meaning to your challenges. You have a great work to do. May you have the courage, faith, and power to become who you were truly meant to be. See you next time.